Go.
Madam Chair, we're ready to start whenever you are.
Go.
We're ready to start whenever you are.
Oh, sorry.
We're very busy
I have
here.
not heard from Ms. Palmer, so I'm not sure if she'll be in attendance today. Would you like to proceed?
Yes, I will do a call to order and then the pledge of allegiance. Hey, this meeting is called to order.
Allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, Madam Chair, I do have one addition to the agenda, and that is the oath of office for our new committee member, Ms. Daniela Harity, who was confirmed at our last council meeting by the town council.
Do we need a motion to proceed with that? No? Okay.
And then we'll just need a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay.
And the oath of office will be item number 1. Well, it'll be after the acceptance of the meeting minutes, so item number 2.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the agenda with the included oh, wait a minute.
I'm just wondering why we have
Yeah.
these other agendas that are attached to this from like 2019 and.
So those are the meeting minutes.
Right, but do we need, why are we approving to read them? Or approving, what's,
Those are the meeting minutes. That's after the approval of the agenda, but the meeting minutes are just for us to file and receive them. For a while, we had a backlog of meeting minutes that were not done properly, for lack of better words. And we've since went back and audited them, and now we're bringing them back to the committee for review and receipt and file. And you approving them is just a formality.
It's just approving file.
That's right.
Because they weren't filed properly before.
They weren't filed, they hadn't been done before.
Okay.
And now
They weren't approved before?
they weren't approved before because they weren't created. And since we've created them now, we're putting them on the agenda.
Okay, but you're asking us to approve something that we're taking your word
Just
for
to
that it's.
As long as you've read through them, we're just asking you to approve for us to receive and file them.
for just further
We
perusal?
went through this before, and I don't think I was in agreement about approving something that we're looking at now that we don't know is word for word what really happened.
No.
Even if I was in them.
Minutes were not produced timely, obviously in the past. I think you will note that the clerk staff is doing a much better job of getting you copies of the recent minutes. So if you don't want to vote to formally approve them, you can just indicate that they are acknowledged for receipt and filing. Those will be the minutes that if anybody asks for the minutes of the meetings, those will be the minutes that are produced. Understand why you would be hesitant if you weren't a member of the committee at that.
Even if I
time.
was seeing your name on there, which my name is in there, I don't remember what happened 6 years ago.
I understand that. And so that's what I'm saying at this point in time. What we're indicating is that these were placed on an agenda and they are received in file. And if somebody wants to see the minutes from that particular meeting, these would be the minutes that would be produced from a public record standpoint or from a record standpoint. If someone takes issue with what was done 5 or 6 years ago, the copies of the tapes, whether they are video or audio, are available. That's how these minutes were produced.
Okay.
If you want to have more certainty about what happened and don't want to just simply acknowledge the minutes for receipt and filing, you can not approve them. We can get you copies of those videos and or audios. You can listen to them, and then we can bring it back at a subsequent meeting once you all have had an opportunity to review them and give you confidence that the minutes are accurate. It's up to you.
And all of the recordings, for the most part, are available online as well.
And just to
Okay.
clarify, the minutes are produced by the town administration team.
Yes.
Okay, the clerk's office. So that's, they're producing that based on the
Yes,
video.
so if
Okay.
you submitted a public records request for a meeting that happened maybe 3 years ago in June, the meeting minutes that we have here for that meeting, we would provide these meeting minutes as we do for all others, and they're also on our Muni code on our website, where if you went back to review the meeting minutes, these are the meeting minutes you'd see, and it's just a formality for us to bring them back to the board for approval, before we upload them. That gives you guys time to actually review them, and then we upload them in the event that there are any corrections that need to be made.
Yeah, as Sam, Mr. Brown just indicated, I think he overstated with its formality. The board does approve the minutes, typically, and especially the ones that are recent and you were at. And if you have corrections or want clarification on an item, that is the purpose. What we're saying is we acknowledge that you may not have been there or remember what happened 5 or 6 years ago. And it is sufficient for our needs that you would acknowledge and direct that they be received and filed so that those would be the minutes. There is the opportunity, if you want us to get you the particular meetings and videos, we can set that up. And if you're more comfortable with approving them at a future agenda, that is up to the board.
Is there a way that we could approve them with some sort of caveat that says,
Exactly.
due to the time lapse, that, anyone requesting these should also, it would be, it would serve them best to watch the videos and listen to the tapes,
think-
not just rely on this.
I think that would be the difference between actually a motion to approve the most recent minutes that you all were in attendance at and can say, yeah, the clerk's office got this right or wrong, or I have a question about this, versus a motion to receive and file previous. Yeah.
And all of your.
So you can do it in
Receive
two
and file,
motions
they can
to
receive
to
and file.
clarify which ones you're
We're just verifying.
truly approving versus those that are just received and filed.
And all of your comments tonight are captured in the record and will be included in the next meeting minutes as well, so. That's
Okay.
there
So
for,
we're, so we're
for
not
clarity.
necessarily proving it, we're just saying, okay, we
We received-
received it and we
Mhm.
can file
So
it.
you can do that
Okay.
for June of 2019 through January of 2021, and then the board meeting where most of you guys have attended is the May 12th, 2025, which is the most recent meeting that we've had from the committee,
Yeah.
where you guys could make a motion to approve those minutes if you're
Okay.
comfortable with that.
You can Put those dates down,
So, yeah. Okay.
receive and file the
Mhm.
2019.
I before E except after C.
Was that a motion by Mr. Austin?
Well, I'm sorry, do we need a roll call? Have we done that yet?
Committee member Siciliano,
Present.
committee member Karen Plant,
Here.
committee member Daniela Harity,
Here.
committee member Robert Austin,
Here,
committee member Sarah Palmer.
Oh,
Is-
after roll call.
oh,
I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
I'm sorry.
She's not really.
Yes.
Got it.
Member until she's sworn in.
Okay.
I'll be here.
My
I'll
bad.
be here again after we.
Okay. I guess we back up. Sorry, Sammy.
So we've done the roll call with the exception of Ms. Harity is not a committee member yet.
So why don't we make her?
Okay, already.
I think that's a good idea.
I am in spirit already.
At this time, we'll
Well-
perform your oath of office. If you could just repeat after me. I, your name,
I, Danielle Harity,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government of the United States
the Constitution and government of the United States
and the state of Florida
and the state of Florida
and the charter of Loxahatchee Groves,
and the charter of Loxahatchee Groves,
that I am duly qualified to hold office
that I'm duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state of Florida
under the Constitution of the state of Florida
and the charter of the town of Loxahatchee Groves,
and the charter of the town of Loxahatchee Groves,
and that I will well and faithfully perform
and that I will well and faithfully perform
the duties of committee member upon I am about to enter,
the duties of the committee that I'm about to enter,
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Welcome.
All right.
Now she's really here.
Okay,
And we still didn't, we need a motion to approve the agenda,
well,
and then we'll go to the approval of the meeting minutes.
okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Yes, I'll motion to approve the agenda.
Second,
I'll second the motion.
all in favor?
Just
This
one
agenda.
from May, right?
This agenda.
Or.
Our
This agenda, yes.
This
There's
agenda.
only, yeah, there's only one agenda in front of you.
Right.
Yep,
Okay.
okay.
All in favor? Aye.
Next is approval of the meeting minutes.
Receive and file.
No, I think what we're gonna do is just go to 0512, this one, and then see if we want to approve these minutes.
There was a consensus to receive and file June 2019 through,
I don't
think there
was.
That's
Not,
what I
not
said.
yet.
we're
They
just,
want to do 5/12/25 first.
Yeah.
right,
So there's,
Actually approve it,
okay,
okay,
so.
understood.
we need a motion in a second.
Wait,
Yes.
wait, well, I'm gonna take just a second. So. Well. 5/12/2025. There's no minutes for this one, right?
The June 17th.
So 5/12, so there's no minutes for the 5/12/2025. I don't see any.
Right there.
Yes, it's on page 22.
No,
Isn't
but-
that 5/12/2024?
I apologize. It's supposed to be 5/12/2025.
Ah.
Okay.
And we'll be
Yep.
sure to make that correction.
Already correct, make a correction.
Well. Does anybody see that? I have May 12. Right,
But it just has the wrong year on it, but that's supposed to be.
Right.
I know, but over here it says
I don't see minutes.
there are no minutes.
Yeah, I don't see the minutes.
On page 23, it says there were no minutes for approval on Unified Land Development Code
For
meeting.
at that actual meeting,
Uh-huh.
for the committee meeting prior to that, there were no meeting minutes that you guys had to approve during the May 12th meeting.
Okay,
So the page before, you have that one that says May 2024.
Mhm.
So 2024 is supposed to be 2025,
okay.
and that's the start of the minutes of May of 2025. So page 22 is supposed to say 25, not 24? Correct.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Right.
Okay.
Yes,
And then the minutes go 22, 23, 24, 25 to 26.
correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Then entrance. Prohibited signs, animated balloon pens. Okay. Discussion. Signs. Sign trailers. Okay. Okay. All right. So do we have a motion to approve the May 12, 2025 minute of the Unified ULDC meeting?
Pretty much correct from-
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, make a motion to approve it, May 12th. 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Great. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Okay, now I guess we need a motion to allow for the above that, 6/17/19, 9/26/19, 10/29/19, 11/21/19, 12/19/19, 11/18/20, 01/13/21 minutes to be
Received.
received and filed.
Make a motion, stuff that receive and file.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Opposed?
Mm.
Oh, sorry. I didn't hear you. I thought you said, like that. I thought I heard, I,
The motion passes 3-1.
okay. 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 Now what?
And the next item on the agenda is the
Discussion.
discussion regarding commercial signage, and that's on the regular agenda.
I guess I'm handing that back to you guys. Yeah. Where do you want to start with that? You want to? Because
So I think we're trying to break it down because it's such a huge topic. So we had discussed before, we figured we'd bring forward this time the discussion on master sign plans. And so I did a memo kind of explaining and providing some of the language of some other jurisdictions. I'm gonna pass out now. I'm trying to be a tree hugger, so I didn't make copies for everybody, so I'm hoping you'll all share it down. These are just examples of some, I'm not saying great or good, but here's some examples of the master sign plans.
are these from the same cities that you cited that
No,
just,
and
okay.
everybody has them online, so wherever I could
Okay.
grab them, I grabbed them. They could be very complicated by the one that I show you that has color drawings and all that fun stuff. It could be very simple to a 5-pager that just describes it, so it can run the gambit. I'll be honest with you. Again,
They got the picture.
master sign plans are generally meant to be adopted in property that has multiple entities. Because the idea is that if you have more than one entity, you could have more than one sign. And so we want some uniformity in regards to that sign. Whether it's the same color, the same location, the same lettering, it really does vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Right now, we don't have a master sign plan program. The most obvious place that it would be applicable to would be the Groza Town Center. That's a prime example, where you have multiple entities, what kind of look do you want to have? It doesn't preclude necessarily, it could be next door on this side, we have the Gross Medical Plaza that has the multiple tenants. You could also have something like that. So it could be one building, it could be multiple buildings, but usually it references when you have multiple tenants. So bringing it forward for the board to consider, is this something, first of all, do we want to adopt this approach? And if we do, what's the applicability? And then from there, we can discuss a little bit further what the requirements are, again, as outlined, as you can tell, in the number of provisions that I gave you from the different jurisdictions. It could be very simple from, we're adopting a master sign program, and it's kind of like we know what we like when we see it. Or it could be as complicated as some of these are. It tells you exactly what you got to include in the plan. So I'm going to start off first with what's everybody's feeling regarding a requirement for a master sign plan. And there's no right or wrong to this. There's no legal right or wrong. It's really what, this committee would like to recommend.
And this is just for commercial properties?
This is just for commercial properties. That's all we're talking about right now is just commercial entities.
I just have a quick question. Is there somewhere we could look at an actual master sign plan that was submitted? Because these pictures it? Because this looks like a building that was already built and then that's what the sign is and that's the dimensions. Is there one that we could look at because
This one's a little different. It's for
Ah.
a different municipality that has, and it just did like a brief overview of what the signs, like the parameters basically for signs.
So typically, again, can't provide you one here because we don't have the requirement, so I can't show you one here. Typically, it's done during the approval of when the building is first built. That's typically when it comes in. Because at that point, they're looking at architectural, so it makes sense to be looking at the signage at this point. So most of our stuff, except for the new ones that come in, is gonna be retroactive. Do we want to apply it? If we do want to apply it, is there a time period we want to apply it? So I think the first thing, as I said, I try, me, I try to compartmentalize. So the first thing is it something we want? Because again, there are some jurisdictions that don't want the uniformity. Their philosophy is, I like the esoteric look. If you go down to, certain places in Miami, they don't want it to all look alike. But then you go to other places that, again, I always like to tell people, like, I used to work in Parkland. You knew you were in Parkland because it was brick on the building. So you knew it as soon as you got there. Are there certain things that people don't like? A lot of people don't like red signs. And so this way they implement something that says, we don't like red signs, and it comes in for the review because it's not a guarantee. If we put it in there, they can't be guaranteed until the plan is reviewed. Now, one of the things it does save is that if a tenant comes in and they follow the rules of the master sign plan, then they don't need any other approvals.
Right.
They go directly to building permit. So it is more
Streamlined.
tenant friendly than if you didn't have one. One of the advantages, again, it's, but again, just wanted to open up the discussion. Again, is it something, and it doesn't, look, I had, when I was in Green Acres, there must have been, every shopping center had one, and they had about 8 or 9 of them, and some of them, they didn't limit it to just black signs. They would say it could be black, blue, green, and yellow. And then typically what happens is the landlord approves it before it comes in. So the landlord knows what it's going to look like because he's going to be the marketer. Chances are he or she is going to have a better idea of what's going to match and what will and what won't. But again, you could limit it to the color on the letters. You could limit it on the color to the background. I mean, so there's any number of restrictions that we could or would like to place or not place. So, again, we don't have that many shopping centers really, but it is, we don't know what's coming in. And again, if you have multiple uses, as an example of the medical, building next door, it is something that, again, we want to continue. Some places have even done master sign plans for an individual lot that has multiple signage, like a bank that has the monument sign, it has a building sign, it has an ingress egress sign, it has the drive-through sign. So some even include master plans for that because they want to make sure all those signs mesh. So again, it goes the gambit and really don't know what the thought was. So just opening it up for discussion for you guys to talk with us about it.
Well, you've obviously been doing this a while. Is there any particular city who you like their sign code? That's kind of would be conducive to our area, not necessarily. Like,
So could it be cliche and say that this is a unique place? Again, for me, most jurisdictions I find regulate more than we do here. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I think, again, it's more, there isn't one that I can say, I try to look at some that are similar, like I kind of look at, people and, population wise and kind of what they do. And, again, there really isn't a good example, Robert. I wish I could tell you, but there really isn't. And a lot of it started at, back with just the shopping center owner. They didn't, they kind of retroed it afterwards and kind of worked it that way. Like at Green Acres, all I had was letters from 1991 saying this is the colors we're doing. They didn't have any plans or anything as we went. And now it's become much more common that you do have those kind of signage. Particularly, I find now with a lot of places, if you don't know, they don't tell you when they change it. So it's nice to have the pictures so you know that this isn't what was originally approved back when. So again, it's really, how strict you want to be. So the first question ultimately, the first question, are we even interested in a master sign plan? I think that's the first question. Is that something we feel we want to enforce? It will be a cost involved to the owner of the property to do it because they're going to have to hire a sign company or a planner in order to, create a plan. But I think that's the first question.
Well, my think is that if it streamlines the process, meaning it's not something that they're gonna have to go back and forth to P and Z and, ask for a variance on a size of a sign, or that, if there's a formula that's in there, it allows them to get the permit process and going sooner rather than later, instead of having buildings sitting around waiting to be finished. In my opinion. I mean, like, I look at Wawa and how they had to redo the signs after it was built. And I think having a master plan would have perhaps helped that somewhat. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I would be in favor of doing something proactive
Mhm.
as opposed to not having any plan and then someone puts up a giant neon sign that everyone's upset about. So
Well, we
maybe,
prohibited those.
right, I'm just I'm saying that.
Right. I mean,
For example, that to have an outline for people to look to as the town grows and new businesses come in.
right, exactly,
Makes sense.
because our code is clearly gonna have to back this up. Also, Rural Vista guidelines are going to have a big play in it. And if that's codified, right, then they're gonna be able to find it all, but that's gonna be time consuming for them as well, as opposed to, hey, I mean, I feel like if they want to do business here, then, that's the onus is on them to fit in. I mean, I like the idea. I don't necessarily like everybody's sign looking the same. That's not, but all the buildings shouldn't look exactly the same, but they should have some uniformity to them so that they don't all look like, military trail either. So,
I like Danielle's idea about basic outline, but like you said about being kind of vague, which means it's to interpretation. So if they submit it, then we can say, or the committee could say, no, that's too gaudy, or we don't like those colors. And you see, these are basic outline. So it's kind of playing a game there between having a basic outline that will follow, and then leave the wording that they can actually modify a little bit and submit it
right.
before they actually do it, and then have somebody look at it who says, okay, well, fits in with the character of our
And Robert,
town.
that's a good point. Who looks at it? Not us,
Well, the
right?
problem was-
It would be us. It would come to us.
It would come to you as a recommending body. And then it
Ah,
would go
okay,
to the
good.
Town
That
council
was-
for the final vote.
Excellent.
I was just thinking, because we got that big shed over there. I don't know how we got the shed. So,
And again, one of the things is we can outline, like some of them done said, we want to see the colors you're proposing. We're not telling you it has to be common. We want to see the colors. We want to see the lettering. We want to see the location. And that way, when it comes before you, like you say, Robert, at that point, you'll have the opportunity to say, hey, I think it should be above the front door so that that's the store, or, we allow monument signs at each one of the ingresses or whatever it is. Or, some of them limit just to monument signs, the ones that have a base versus the ones that are the poles. So you do have some flexibility, but you have to get the materials, they have to give you the information
Right.
for you to evaluate it.
And will we be saying what their site plan has to look like? That's kind of why I was asking for a sample of one, because some of these in here that you've given us ask for 3 different renderings,
Right.
an elevation and size, and because that, I'm no architectural engineer, and if they say it's that, something that, we could easily digest.
So usually give a site plan because you want to know location, right? Particularly on the monument signs or the ingress egress signs. So that's usually why you get a site plan.
Okay.
Then typically you get an elevation example, so you know where the sign is going to go. Is it going, like I said, is it going above the door? Is it going to the right of the door? However they decide, again, roof makes a difference, so you have to decide that. Do you want to allow them in boxes? Some have light boxes, some have lettering on the building. So those are also, now you can give the discretion, you can say it could be this or this, and then you can take a look at it when it comes in and make a decision, because maybe it does vary on the architecture that's given.
Well, exactly, because some buildings, one sign might look good and not look good on another one. So
Mhm.
you have to actually see it in the full context.
So that's generally, again, I find the hardest thing from a staff perspective is I hate it when someone comes back and goes, if I had known, I would have done that, right?
Right.
So the idea for me in the code is to include what is it we feel we find necessary to include, so that way you can come to the decision with a recommendation to the council. And that's how I really feel about it. You know, some of the other stuff you don't have to get, you know, into, I don't have to tell them what size it has to be and that kind of thing. Just give me the, you know, are you using italic lettering? Are you using, you know,
Right, what's your
whatever
font?
it is. So that way we can decide kind of where you want to go with the idea that you always have to keep in mind that trademarked signs are typically exempt. I have some discretion regarding size of it, but I don't have discretion regarding color if it's trademarked.
You mean logos,
Trademark, yeah,
i.e.
even names.
the
like-
car wash that's pink and
right,
turquoise.
they- Whatever it is.
we,
or
we,
we're
we,
saying, or-
we can't ask that they change those colors.
I can't, if they're claiming they want it based on a trademark and they show me they have an actual trademark, I cannot preclude them from using the coloring or the lettering, but I can determine location and size
Okay,
that I have discretion on.
okay.
So I just wanted you, so even if they said
Yeah.
it was only black signs and Wawa comes in, we've got to authorize Wawa red, but I can determine, you know, you can make a recommendation as to the location and the size we're allowed.
And Karen, these municipalities that you've included in the list, are they just sort of random examples or ones that you have experience with or ones that you particularly like? It seems to me that in an effort to not overcomplicate this, it would be great to find another municipality that we like generally what their code, how their sign code works, and then just adapt it a little bit for our use.
So I kind of picked all over because, you know, some were simple, some were more complicated. Generally on, you know, taking a look at it, Green Acres has a pretty good, language regarding their sign code. It's just been updated recently. So it has been reviewed by legal counsel. So they have a little bit in there. Deerfield wasn't so bad. I tried to keep, you know, in the area because I hate to use like St. Lucie County because it's a different county. They have a different perspective. That's why I tried to give you Boca and Palm Beach Gardens and those kind of things. So again, if you wanted to take a look, I felt, you know, Green Acres was probably pretty common up there. Wellington, they use a lot, but you know, I was like, they've got a lot more going on than we do with 65,000 residents. So you know, I tried to keep it in a little bit smaller ones, but
Sure.
Can I get clarification on this master plan?
mhm.
Okay, so I don't understand how this is different from what we're doing with just going through the signs and what we're approved, and what we're not. Is the master plan just something that says generalizations? It doesn't give specifics?
Correct. So the way that so like in the AR district, you said you're allowing one monument sign, it's 9 square feet, it's in this location. The master sign plan doesn't specify that. You can, I mean, you could put maximum or minimums if you want, but typically the master sign plan is, I'm providing, just like Robert said, I'm providing you a plan that I'd like to implement. You tell me whether you're in agreement or not. Because typically it goes to plan unit developments, similar to the Groves, you know, town center. And usually you give some discretion there, you know, because there are different circumstances than it would be in just a single, you know, location. But again, I'm looking to you. Do you want it to apply to just planned unit developments like that? Or do you want it to apply to any structure that has multiple tenants that could have more than one sign? I mean, because like that medical center, if it's going to get 2 tenants, its monument sign probably have 2 tenants on it. Is that any different than a planned unit development? I would make the argument no,
Right.
because you have
Whatever the
multiple
master
tenants.
plan says, though, they still have to go back to the other sign codes and apply those to what they do.
So when they bring in, correct, when they bring in their master plan, the master plan has to show they're in compliance with the existing sign regulations. So if we put in a CL low and we say you're only allowed 1 monument sign, they can only apply for 1 monument sign unless they're doing a variance. Right? Because they can always come in a variance.
Sure.
But they have to follow the underlying.
Can
but
we
it
put in
does
for
give-
no variances?
But it does give some discretion, like Robert says, on, you know, what does it look like? Because it has multiple tenants, so we want, you know, when you have 1 tenant, they're gonna do it the way they want it, right? But when you have multiple tenants, you could get multiple people. That's why you want to have 1 person, as Joe says, that if you follow that script, then you can get your building permit and your sign code, you know, sign right away.
Mhm, 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 mhm.
So it sounds to me that you're in favor of a master sign plan. It sounds like we may still have to work on the underlying, because not everything's in a PUD,
Nope.
right? I mean, you have John Deere that's by itself. You still need regulations on.
But isn't there a
Right there.
square footage? Can we apply a square footage, in excess of? Or, if a building is like in some of these codes, it said 5,000 square feet. I mean, can we put something like that, even if you're a standalone building?
You have any
Yeah.
sort, again, as long as you can justify the distinction, then you can go ahead and do it. And a lot of it is size, again, if you're 5 acres, you can typically have a larger sign than if you're 1 acre. Because you don't see a big sign, small sign on a 5-acre parcel where you might sooner see it on a 1-acre parcel. So there is a distinction based on typically, you can do it on size of the parcel, square footage of the building.
Mhm.
Those are always we can put into place. And again, we can go through it. I wanted to take the first step, which actually the next step after this one will be also a nice one. This is amortization we'll have to deal with. But the first one was, master sign plan, because what I'll do is I'll bring back language to you and then you can pick the language apart. And then we can have that together so I can do part of the work for you and you can mark up however you want it to be. So as we start pulling it together, we're going to have a whole book on what we've done so far and everything that this.
Shouldn't we
committee-
finish the sign codes before we do the master plan? It seems like we're doing it in the wrong order. We just finished for the residential. Weren't we gonna go do commercial?
We are doing commercial, and the master sign planning only is applicable to commercial. So I don't see it being as one before the other. I'm just asking you now, if you want to have a master sign plan. So if you have a multiple tenant building, doesn't matter what the underlying regulations are. The question is, do you want them allowed? Are you looking for that master sign plan?
I don't know why we're limiting it to multiple tenant buildings. Number one. Number two, is there maybe a formula that could just work on square footage that kind of sort of wraps it up for everybody? If your building equals, X amount of square feet, this is how big your sign can be. And it obviously it'll size down or size up.
Mhm. Yeah, you can do that.
That could be in the master sign plan.
Yeah, that's what,
Right.
Well,
right?
it would be, well, it could be, but it could also be in your regular regulations, which is
Mhm.
what Karen is saying.
Or it
And
should
that
be,
you can say if you're a
both.
5-acre parcel or a 1,500 square foot building, this is as tall maximum that your sign can be. I don't like to do minimums because it's really up to the property owner as long as they don't go larger. I think that's really where the concern is more than less.
Right.
Trust me, they never go less anyway. They always go to the max they can go. But, certainly we can do that. And, again, Karen will kind of do it hand in hand. The first question was, do you even want to consider that? Let's kind of get that language, because really all it is the language to say we're going to require it. We're going to require it at a minimum for PUDs. Now, Joe is saying maybe for multi-tenants like we have for the medical building next door, or if you want multi-tenant, multi-signage on one site. I don't know. That's up to you to tell me what you want to do. And then we can just clarify what needs to be included in that application with the idea that if you pass that application as a tenant, you don't have to go back to the planning board or to the ULDC or to the council because it's already been reviewed and you meet all those criteria. And then we will definitely, there's no question, we're going to get to the commercial as to, because we have 2 commercial districts and they can be treated differently because you have different uses in each one. So maybe some you might want larger than others. I don't know. And we'll have to go through that as well. So again, I'm gonna circle back. So it sounds like
But
master sign plan. Go ahead, Joe.
But Karen, do you believe though that with a master site plan that it directs those applicants to read more thoroughly the code and get it done right the first time? Or is, right, like just, I don't want to be redundant.
Yeah.
But I also don't want for it to slip through the cracks either.
So what I always put in all my master sign plans, I always put a line in there that says you must meet all requirements of section 17-325 of the town's ULDC. So they know right in the master sign plan, you have to match it. It doesn't matter any way you go, you still need to address it. So that's usually how I deal with that.
Okay.
Unless they request a variance.
Unless they request a variance, that is correct. And that's the same process, comes to you as a recommendation, goes to the council for final decision, and they've got to justify the variance. Remember, variances are exceptions to the rule. So you got to be able to show
Have a
why
rule.
you're entitled to an exception to the rule, why we treat you differently than we treat other people. Sometimes it does make sense. Look, I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes it doesn't. And, I would say in my history, if you want to tell me the percentages of variances approved, I would say is probably approved 2%.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
No,
not
that's down.
likely. So I'll go ahead and, if you guys are okay, I'll go ahead and draft up something on the master sign plan. Bring the language back to, I'll send it out in advance. You can take a look at it. We can discuss it next week. So that way you can tell me if we're going in the right direction or anything else that you want to include in that.
Do we have
Okay.
consensus on that? You guys like
Is that
idea?
good?
I do. Why don't you like it just really quickly?
It feels redundant. If we're already making a sign code, why are we also doing a master plan? I don't
Well,
understand.
look at it this way. I think that it provides one more step of oversight because it comes to whoever's on ULDC at that point in time to look at it. They know the codes and say, yeah, this looks like it works.
Um,
Am I wrong? Whoops.
Right now, ULDC does not review actual applications.
I was gonna say, I don't think we've ever seen one.
Oh, that was a question I asked. Who reviews it?
So what's the sign process now that's up?
Right now, it would go through, plans are usually go through Planning and Zoning Board, and then the council is the authority that actually grants or denies any applications.
Okay, so it still gives one more step of oversight in a package to P and Z.
So doing the master plan makes it go through the ULDC?
It'll go through the planning board and to the council.
Sorry, I misspoke. But I thought that's where they said it would come for. Did you hear that too?
I thought so too.
Okay, sorry. My bad.
It's-
So it goes
I
somewhere.
thought they said that too.
Okay.
I'm kind of thinking more if it was a variance thing that would come to us to look at, because like you said, if it complied with the code, then there wouldn't be anything to look at. But if it wanted something outside of it, then people could look at it and.
Right now, the way the code is structured, the only board that approves anything, be it a waiver, be it a approval of plan, is the town council. The Planning and Zoning Board is a recommending body, and there are no powers that are granted elsewhere, with the exception of the special magistrate, which is an empty.
I didn't mean for approval. I meant that we looked at it and said, yeah, this looks like it matches what we had in mind. Send it to whoever,
Council.
the council or P and Z, wherever it goes next. I mean, like, I was not suggesting that we
Okay.
approve it
Yeah,
or
Right.
not approve it.
right now that you would be putting in an extra step
Right.
into the process. And one of the things that we've got to be aware of is Senate Bill 180. And right now, you can't bring forward a more restrictive ordinance with respect to signs or any other part of the approvals. And you cannot increase the burden on the process. So right now, we've got a process that goes to PZB. And if you interjected another layer, that would be an additional burden on the applicants. And we could not do that at this point in time.
Wasn't that until November? Doesn't it end in like a year from the time they,
2027.
2027?
That you
But
can't,
that's for
you,
the hurricane damage properties.
you
I thought.
cannot propose an ordinance that would have that effect. So,
Mm,
On new
a-
build or hurricane damage?
Anything.
anything. And so, anything that is more restrictive that you all come up with in our current code, that's going to sit and wait for 2 years, basically. Now, That's not to say it's not a worthwhile discussion, but I just wanted to make everybody aware of that. It is not unusual.
To be low.
And I think it's quite common in larger jurisdictions that a lot of projects go through two boards at least before they go to the council, or they're subject to potential decisions by two other boards. That's the Planning and Zoning Board, and a lot of jurisdictions have what's called, or something close to being called, an Architectural Review Board. And it's usually at the architectural review boards that you take a hard look at signs, exteriors, and those kind of things. Planning and zoning boards generally deal with more the boxes and the layouts of the plan. So a lot of the things that you all have been working on in other jurisdictions, the board that would review that, potentially approve it or make recommendations to the council, is something that's generally referred to or as an architectural review board.
Does it say in our code now that signs have to be included in the architectural renderings? I don't think it does. So,
If memory serves me correctly, Joe, I think when you're going through the site plan, we asked to kind of get minor information, but it's not generally approved through that process.
okay. So,
What does the master plan actually
So
do?
the master plan would require a property owner of multiple tenant buildings to come to file an application that would be heard by the planning board as a recommending body, and to the town council to approve their master plan, which would outline where signs are located, what type of signs, how many each can have,
And they don't have to do that now?
and they don't have to do that now.
So right now, they would just need to comply with the sign code that the town has.
That is correct.
yeah, I kind of like the idea of giving them an outline to follow, which makes it easier on everybody involved, in my opinion. Because reading
So-
through our code is,
Right, and sorry that, because I'm just getting up to speed here, the code is under review right now. The general sign code is something that is up for discussion. But we could modify the current sign code to include different things.
but at this point, in
No
t-
one would, but it still doesn't get submitted for a layer of approval, right? As long as they
If you were making the code more lenient, or portions of the code more lenient,
Yeah.
that is permissible for us to do. If you are making it more restrictive, you can't. There may be some arguments as to what some things are doing, but if, for example, you said you can have, right now you can have 4 signs, and you say, no, you're only going to be able to have 2 signs,
Mhm.
probably not going to be able to move that forward.
Okay, and the current sign code is outlined here, or where does that exist now?
In our ULDC,
Okay,
so we have it online, or you can either go to Muni Code, or you can go to the town's
Okay.
website. Or Danielle, I can email you, the sign code section if you want.
but
I'm sure I can find it. Thank you.
but the whole point of this committee and working on signs at this point in time, prior to the passage of SB 180, was that our sign code is lackluster and confusing, and it needs to be updated. So, yes, while I know that now nothing that we do is going to be able to be enforced until October of 2027, my thought when I spoke to staff was that we had a great group of people here that was really had a lot of, a lot of momentum, and that if we could just continue working on the sign code, and even if it sits on a shelf, at least, Tuesday after the 27th, in October, whatever, there's something to hand over to council for them to peruse.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify the expectations with respect to
Right.
when
Right.
things would move forward.
So that's kind of where we're at. And it's entirely up to you guys if you want to proceed, or maybe we can move on to something else. as far as, I don't know, that would take council directing us in a new direction. But right now we've been given signs, right? So I'm in favor of a master plan.
Yeah, I agree. Karen's talking about writing up something based on her experience and the outlines and recommendations and.
Perfect. I'll draft something again for you all to take a look at, mark it up. I don't take it personal. So, whatever you feel. And again, we'll make sure we have everything in a row, Joe, so that as soon as that magical date comes, we'll have the ability to present whatever the committee has decided at that point.
That'd be awesome. And if I could see, or if you could tell me where to find a site plan that I could look at, like, so I can, I just like to see, here's my renderings of where signs are going to go, because it mentions in a lot of these, landscape, this,
I'll see if I
what all
have
it entails. That'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so
That was my major topic. I mean, the next one that I was gonna bring up would be the amortization, but you guys decide.
will there be language in the master plan, like in some of these that I was reading through that you handed us, that speaks to a time limit, or for the ones that are not in compliance, when one needs to be repaired, then they have to come up to the new code, or will they have to submit a site plan for the entire place? How does that?
So, okay, so amortization basically deals with an illegal sign.
Right.
Whether it's legal, illegal, or whether it was put up without a permit, doesn't matter. And basically what it says is that for whatever reason, the philosophy, the vision, the desire of the town has changed from when the sign was built to where we are today. And as a result, we want to get rid of any signage that doesn't match what our desire is. And that could be a monument sign, a building sign, anything along those lines. The only legal advice I can give you is that basically the courts have said you've got to give the property owner the return on what he spent on the sign. Okay.
The
So they don't
original
want the
sign?
Amortization to be 1 year because he spent, $20,000 and you can't recoup
I
that
see.
in 1 year. So
On
they
the-
want to give some time frame. What that is, Joe, they haven't said. A lot of places do 5 years, some do 10 years, whatever, how quickly you want to turn it over. But I certainly wouldn't suggest less than 5. I think that would not be looked highly upon by, the court, and people will tend to sue when they feel they spent a lot of money and they're not getting the return on their money. So that's really what amortization means, is that you have a sign, it's no longer in compliance with what we want it to be, and now we're giving you a time frame in which to turn that sign over. And usually the amortization says at the end of that time, it has to be gone completely. And during the time period in which the amortization is going on, there are certain events that occur that could require them to convert to the new sign.
So, but quickly, like, let's say Booney's sign got knocked over in Milton and it's just done. But we have a sign code in that says that sign is no longer it would no longer be in compliance. How does that work? Then their new sign has to be up to code
That is
if
correct.
it's been demolished in any.
That is correct. Typically, it goes 50%. It's 50% of the value, 50 of the value of the sign. So if the fine was $10,000, if the cost to repair it was more than $5,000,
Oh,
that
I
typically
see.
kicks it
Okay.
in. Or if 50% of the face of the sign.
Okay.
So if you have, 100 square feet and you have to replace 50, then typically that would then kick it in.
Jump you over.
That's generally how the language works. Doesn't always, but that's generally because they figure at that point, because at that point, you have to make major changes in order to be able to do that. Gesundheit. Nope, you saved it. But, things like where sometimes it doesn't kick in is, sometimes you have the same owner and maybe they change the name of their business. Would I require them to replace their whole sign? Probably not if they're using the same space area, but they're just changing the name of their business. So that's an example of the opposite where we wouldn't necessarily require it.
So that one we could get across the finish line today.
It depends. I mean, again, you know, I'm trying my best to kind of, like I said, compartmentalize that, and that's another one. On, you know, whether it's something that we want here, you know, look, you know, I will tell you, people, they love their signs. They might want to argue for a long time. It is a common provision. I'm not going to say you're the only one who adopts it. Almost every sign code typically has something. Believe it or not, we actually have something in our code similar. We just haven't enforced it. I'm not going to lie to you.
Okay,
So, you know, again, the question is, do we want to continue down that path? Keeping in mind that many of these signs could have been up there for 20 years and we're now telling people it's got to go. Again, doesn't mean they can't have a sign, but it goes back again that, you know, this committee has been very strict on what you've allowed, what you're going to allow. So, you know, they may have a 20 square foot sign now, and when they have to do a new one, it may be 9. And I'm not saying right, wrong. Trust me, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I'm a property owner sitting there and saying I had to sign it, everybody could see, and now I'm going down to a 9 square foot sign. You know, I'm not going to be happy about it. Not, you know, again, just, you know, I'm always the good and the bad. I'm not taking sides, but amortization is pretty common because you do want, you know, the idea is for you to have whatever your theme, whatever your idea is, you want to implement it at some point, otherwise it goes on forever. But
right. And little things like that. I mean, I'm sorry, it's not a little thing, but that would be, you know, again, we're just advisory, right? Council could say, okay, yes, this, no, you know, the giant signs on Okeechobee can stay. Right? I mean, that's
you're absolutely, you are the recommending body and they have a choice of they can either agree with you, make changes, or disagree with you. It's the 3 choices they have.
all right.
Or the signs that have been there for 10, 15 years, or they grandfathered in, or we can make them change them.
Under an amortization, you are not grandfathered in. Typically, it says after 5 years or 10 years, gotta go.
But starting date of the
Typically,
ordinance being adopted, can you
Usually-
make it retroactive or no?
Like you said, we already have something adopted about that. So
Okay.
they're already in non-compliance if we have that in effect.
That's correct.
We
So
just haven't been enforcing.
Why
Yeah.
don't we start enforcing that now?
I think the thought goes back again to kind of what we talked about, is that these people have been in business for so long, that's been their sign, and I'm just telling you, that's just.
I still don't understand why we're not enforcing it. I really don't. That's the rule. I don't understand if it's we already have it on the books. Why are we going to rewrite it if it's already there and we're not enforcing it?
Which provision are you talking about with respect to? Okay.
I feel like,
I'm not aware as to why or why not we're.
but I kind of feel like, Karen, if we had, while we're working on a comprehensive sign code, that once that gets handed in, it would then be, okay, we've allowed it, but we've redone the sign code. It's been passed. It's now ordinance. And unfortunately, your sign doesn't cut muster and it's time for it to go. I mean, I feel like that it would be a legitimate way to get.
If we rewrite it though, doesn't that start the clock again for them? I mean, it seems like the clock has already run out for a lot of these signs. If it's already on the books for how long?
Well.
It would depend on how you structured the amortization.
Is there a list of signs or companies that are not in compliance at the
No.
time?
There is not.
And so it's sort of anecdotal right now, or?
Well, yes, yes. I mean, because, you know, again, some of them got approvals in the county, not from us. You know, some of them got vested rights that,
Mhm.
you know, they've been there for so long. You know, again, you know, you're talking to someone who's been here since April, so as I come along.
And so
But-
how would you assemble a list of, or how would signs or companies that are not in compliance be identified by the town? Who would do that?
So code enforcement would have to go out along with planning and zoning. And we would literally have to take a picture of every sign, measure every sign, look at the files, go back to the county, see what files we have, and have to make that list of determination, because we'd have to notify everybody. I mean, if I
Sure.
were a property owner, I wouldn't just take your word for it. I'd want to know, you know, why am I not in compliance?
Sure.
So we'd have to go through that to see how we, and hopefully we get voluntary compliance.
Yep.
If not, then we have to go the code enforcement route.
And what's the approximate number of businesses or signs that we'd be looking? Do you know that number? Is it, 200,000?
You know, I would say there's probably about 200, not more than 200 commercial. I'm not saying home occupied based businesses. And some of them are along, the road, so it's not necessarily, I think you're gonna find the biggest problem are the signs that are in the AR district. I think those are where you're gonna find most of the vet, the ones that are off of Okeechobee are gonna be some of those.
Yeah.
I think that's really where the areas you're gonna find the most non-compliant signs.
Right.
One thing with respect to amortization and with respect to the code itself, the existing code. This town, almost from the beginning, and with very few exceptions, mostly having to do with life, safety, and health, of which signage does not fall most of the time unless it was a dangerous structure, has taken the position when it comes to enforcing any of its codes, including the sign code, that it is all complaint based. And so unless there was a complaint, there was no enforcement. That remains the case today. The complaints that have been received that I'm aware of over the last few years, or, some of them pre me being an employee, the complaints that were received were not against commercial signage. It had to do with political signage. And with respect to the political signage, there is a legitimate question as to whether our ordinance is enforceable with respect to the
Content.
constitutionality of it as, under the current case law. So it's a difficult situation if you have a provision like that. If and when the council decides to move forward with a revised sign code, the recommendation should be absolutely that is something that the staff can enforce without a complaint. Because you sitting up there, you have an idea of what the sign code says and whether or not a sign is in compliance or not. But for you to notice it, go to the effort of making a complaint, knowing that when you make the complaint, your name has to be taken down and we have to record where the complaint is coming from. And you go, wow, is it really going to be worth it for me? And I might have to come in and testify, all those kind of things. Sign codes, if you're going to have one, let your staff enforce it. Otherwise, everything that we talk about is a waste of time.
Is it right?
That's
Okay.
why I don't understand what we're doing when we already have some of these codes. If we're not going to enforce them, why can't we start enforcing them now?
Because it's complaint driven is why.
No, but he's saying we can change that. Why can't that be changed now?
That's up to the council.
But I think there has to be some homework done first, right? Like,
To see the impact of
Right.
what it would be, because it would be probably a lot of shock to everybody if
And
all of a sudden we started going up and rounding up signs and all those kind of things, and then there definitely would be complaints about that action. Let me tell you, anything that we do, including, as most recently, council passes an RV ordinance after lots of time and effort, and then we give people a grace period after it has been approved, and then we start enforcing it. And most of the comments that come up to the council level aren't about, hey, it's great that you guys passed an ordinance and are trying to enforce it. It's like, what is staff doing? why is code enforcement involved in this?
Yeah.
So folks, if you're gonna pass something, pass it with the intent you're gonna enforce it.
And for that to happen, I mean, as far as the ones that are not in compliance, the amortization needs to be addressed first. Okay, so let's bite into that whale, shall we? I mean, how does that?
Again, it's just really a question, do we want to keep it in there? And again, we can bring back language that would address what you want. You tell me.
Yeah, I guess we should look at it.
I was gonna say, it's already there, so let's look at what we
Yeah,
have.
let's look at what we have.
So I'll
For sure.
do what we have and maybe some suggested language if it's any different about that.
And we probably should come in with some sort of impact analysis for you to understand
How many?
what you would be,
Mhm.
what would be happening, who would be affected. Not that that makes a difference, but you want to see.
Then you need to give me more than a month to do that.
Yes.
And then also, and that all sign
Absolutely.
code is, you have the language for that to go be handled directly by staff and not a complaint driven code. That's something that's going to sit until 2027, obviously.
Yeah,
No,
That one doesn't have to.
no,
Interesting. Okay.
if the code is there, we're not changing the code. we're
Okay.
just
If we just
formatting
want,
it.
if we want to go and enforce our current code,
We
Okay.
can do that.
we can do that.
How do you feel about that?
Enforce our current code.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
What, once again, I think we should do on that, is wait for the impact analysis so that you can see what the effect of that recommendation would be. And then if that is to be brought to the council as a recommendation of this body, make sure that everybody has thought about what that means and not just, oh, well, the ULDC suggests that we do this, and nobody's figured out what it's going to take in terms of manpower, how much time, all those kind of things. And here, if effective, is what's going to be taken away.
And Karen, you think that's going to take you a month or more to put
More than a
together?
month.
So you don't think it's a little more time prudent to go ahead and start on the amortization, because the impact is a byproduct. It's not really, I don't know how much we should take that into account, really. That's going to be, I think, up to the council. I mean, yeah, we should look at it and be
Mhm.
aware that, 5,000 signs are going to come down, but
Right.
should it really drive how we want the town to look going forward? I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think reviewing the current language is sort of the next step for us.
Mhm.
And then it sounds like it's gonna take Karen a little time to put together the rest of the information we need in order to tackle this.
Right. So exactly. So what I'm saying is do we need to wait a month in order to get that all in one package, or should we?
It's really up to you. I can
Okay.
get you the existing language. I can get you some suggested language, but I will not have available
Okay.
on the impact. I can tell you some of some of it, I mean, I'm gonna tell you some of the churches are probably the worst offenders.
Mhm. Yeah. Placement wise and size
So,
wise.
I mean, again, this goes back to what, Jeff has said, do you want to make
Do you want a church mad at you?
exceptions? Do you,
All the
that,
churches,
that's,
right.
what it comes down to, or give a longer period of time, or however you want to do it. We don't know without knowing really what the impact is. So, I mean, certainly to have to revisit it, I certainly can, like I said, I can send you the language. I'm just,
Okay.
I'm not going to promise something I can't make. So
No,
I
no.
don't want to be.
Yeah,
Understood.
I mean, I would guess with respect to the existing amortization schedule, for example, some the Yees center, where Boonies is, that sign is not permitted, and there was a 2016 time period. It existed before 2016. So that's a prominent sign in a prominent location that would be number one to to go. It's the easy citation.
And why is that one non-conforming?
I think the size is.
There's
one
height.
thing. There's height limitations.
There's a height limitation.
Well, is it really though? I don't know. Okay.
And I'm not talking about Booney's one necessarily per se, but the sign for the
It's a big-
center,
Mhm.
which has
Yeah.
gotta be 20+ feet. And then across the way at the vets, that sign there.
Yeah.
Once again. You know,
Because that was a bank, right? Originally.
yeah.
Yeah.
But those signs. There was no allowance for them in the
Right.
existing code.
Well, I'll, like,
And I know-
we'll get you
I
the
know that
language.
they're pre-incorporation.
Yeah, I was
so
just
that's
gonna
why I'm
say.
Like going, if there was 2016, that's.
Well, that's my point about are we gonna have any grace for grandfathered in or make them change signs they've had for 25 years?
That, well, if
That's-
you enforce an amortization, that's exactly what you do. Is you had that sign for 25 years, do not complain
Right.
that now it comes down.
But they could ask for a
And what
variance.
you get in replacement is, what's our height limitation, 6 feet?
No, I don't know. off the top of my head. I don't want to even guess, but could be. I know it's too tall.
And legacy doesn't apply to signs.
It.
Oh, boy.
It can.
Oh, boy.
It can, let's see. Back in 19,
1820.
yeah, because this is where my grayness and my age is going to show. Back in 1986, 1987, when I was a young attorney and the assistant city attorney in Delray Beach, I created a historical sign ordinance to preserve those signs that had great historic value in Delray Beach, because we had eliminated signs, rooftop signs and stuff. So there was a place called Docks, and we saved its sign. And there was a sailfish, it was Sailboat Inn, and they had a sailboat on the top, and we let that do. And there was about 7 or 8 signs that we
Okay.
created a historical sign code for. So yeah,
There's an
you
amount.
can do that stuff. I can remember how.
Okay. Okay.
None of those signs are there today, I don't think.
Oh, the sailboat took off.
Yeah,
They didn't
buildings,
stand up at the
developments
time.
changed,
Right,
everything
the pirates
else.
took it over.
Businesses were sold, but
Booney suddenly becomes an historical.
absolutely.
Well, there is some history there, for sure. Page with my name in it somewhere. Okay,
So those were the only 2 that I was prepared to kind of discuss tonight, and figured that, where do we want to go? I've got my marching orders. I know what I need to do in those 2. What do any desire on what you would like to bring back to the next meeting?
When is the next meeting scheduled?
okay, there's that.
Or
And
third Monday, I think.
This is the 3rd Monday already?
It's
This is
the
second
second-
Monday.
Second Monday.
What day is it? Second Monday?
Yeah, second Monday.
Thank you.
Looking right now.
So it would take
Let's
over
see.
a month to get that information together.
Yeah, but we don't need it for the next meeting.
Yeah.
That's August 11th.
Oh, August 11th is the next meeting.
which is, oh wow, we're already in July, aren't we? Okay.
Just in time for school.
So the question is, do we continue? I mean, I don't know, is the amortization language gonna be enough to keep us busy for a couple hours or,
Or can we
No.
Start on commercial signs.
yeah? Or should,
Think you do, just like we did with the AR, pick your zoning district. You got 2 commercial zoning districts. You got the industrial public one. And
Wait,
Yeah.
industrial, we have industrial?
institutional,
Institutional.
institutional.
which of those is the amortization going to affect the most? I know you don't have an impact, but which? Probably institutional.
No.
No,
No, commercial.
AR, I think.
Well, maybe the institutional because of the churches.
But the churches, see, the problem is that churches are not allowed to have monument signs in AR districts.
Right.
Whereas in the institutional, I think they're allowed, but it might be a different size.
Right,
Shouldn't
so
we
if
do
you have a
commercial?
church that does different things every month or every couple of
That's true.
weeks, how are you gonna let them advertise what's going on there? I agree, they don't want giant billboard gaudy signs, but they do need something to be able to put out there to let people go and buy, know what's going on.
So typically you have a temporary sign provision that talks about being allowed to put up a sign for a certain duration and then has to be taken down after that duration.
Well, and that's one of the things that
Yeah.
when we want to look at things, if we look at the current code and we say, this is really not allowed, but it hasn't been enforced, but we think it's okay. That's one of the things that if you decide, well, let's make a provision on this, but perhaps limit the size or something like that, then arguably that is a more lenient standard that can go forward under SB 180.
Right, because we're not taking it away altogether.
Exactly.
Okay.
Making it just a little smaller.
Yeah, and so there are some things that we've not sure that we've really discussed thus far, but there are some things that we could probably discuss, and where you're talking about expanding the ability, or not making it more restricted. We can come forward with those suggestions.
Okay.
It doesn't all have to be just restrictive that we look at. You can tell us, hey, we think this should be restricted, but these things we think actually, property owners should have an expansion of the rights, and those would be things that you could go forward with to the council and they could approve that.
All right, so what do between staff and you guys, like, where do you think we should concentrate? On commercial, is that our biggest, that's our
I
biggest,
would do commercial.
right?
Commercial.
Okay.
So I think if you follow with what Jeff says, I think you take a look. I'll send out the commercial, again, only 2 commercial districts, commercial low office. We'll send out the language, the sign code language for each one of those. And then again, let us know if you're okay with the way it is, needs to be more restrictive or less restrictive.
Okay.
And then we can deal with, ultimately what the consensus of the committee is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
And were there revisions made? Oh, gosh, because the ULDC, the code that I have, the hard copy that I have, I'm not sure. I think it's from 16. Is there anything new in there? Yes.
Sure, since 16.
Okay.
The most, look, we don't always make the changes right away either. It takes a while to get it in.
Okay.
It's just like the property appraiser's office. You don't find out new properties except for 3 months later, but it definitely newer since 2016. I'm sure it's been modified some way. The best is to get the
The Muni code.
language off of the Muni code online. That's the most accurate.
If you could text me where,
The
not,
link?
yeah, just, well, no, just
We'll send
the
it-
numbers,
We'll send the
chapters
link
in the section.
to all of you so that you can have ready access.
Brilliant. I would love that. Okay. Well,
Okay.
it's just that, are we,
That's it for me.
okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Good job, guys. Good job. Thanks, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry,
Have your big packet next time.
I will now, that's for sure. It's gonna be sign code.
Out.
Yeah, I was outdone. Gonna be big page
The
with
question
bunch
is,
of
did you
yellow
read it all?
highlighted. What is that?
It's a good idea taking a little notes. like
it's
that.
like
Sure,
that.
especially if you said
It's
something.
look,
like-
Yeah.
Even
Old. Write everything.
What is it?
That's actually-
It must be for the TV.
For the PowerPoint.
Ah,
Trusting
Got
you
it.
us on video.
Like when
Yeah.
we have PowerPoints up, you can
They'll say
click
make it
through,
pretty
there's like a
big.
USB.
Couple
over
times
there.
they haven't, right.
so
Right.
smart. We're so high tech
Just a
now.
little bit